Good morning and welcome to season 4 of Stuck in a Lift. Today we are talking with Dave Cooper around accessibility across the UK. Enjoy! So welcome back to season 4. The end of season 3, we ended it with the most incredible person, Tanny Gray-Thompson, talking about everything around disabled access in London. So today we're starting off season 4 with the famous Dave Cooper, and we're going to talk about the same topic, but we want to get Dave's point of view on it. So good morning, Dave. How are you?
Morning. I'm very well, thank you.
Good. How's your journey in?
Yeah, long.
Long. Well, thank you. We do appreciate it.
No, not at all. Not at all.
So obviously that I've just said we ended with Tanny Gray-Thompson, so we really want to get your point of view around disabled access, especially in London, because that's obviously where we're all based, but across the UK. But just before we kick off with those questions, what is your role in the lift industry? I know you've got many hats that you wear every day.
Yeah, right. So I wear many hats. I mean, my day job is CEO of Lex UK and Lex UAE, which is a lift consultancy formed in 1991. We specialise in lifts, escalators and cable cars, believe it or not. So outside of that, I'm President-elect of SIBSE being the Chartered Institute of Building Services Engineers, where there's some exciting news there. The Society of Vertical Transportation has been set up from the current special interest group, the Lifts Group, which is going to be great news, and that'll be good for registration of engineers. I'm also chair of the trust that runs the annual symposium. I also chair the lift charity. So a number of roles within the industry. Yeah.
If I can ask, what one do you enjoy the most? Because that's many hats.
Do you know, the honest answer to that is I really enjoy them all. What I love about the lift industry, how do I put this? I would say that 95% of the lift industry personnel are really nice people, wanting to do a good job, and there's only a few rogues in the industry. And I think that's the bit I don't like, is dealing with some of the rogues on some of the expert witness work I do. But 95% of the people I deal with in the industry are really good. Yeah.
So if we look at all of those hats that you put on each day, if you could just explain that to the guys listening that may not be a part of the lift industry, if you can kind of put it in layman's terms. So for the Lift Symposium, for example, what is that to someone that doesn't know? Right,
so the Lift Symposium is an annual gathering. Normally we get over 100 people there. It's become a 2-day event. It was set up in 2011. It's a gathering of professionals to listen to other professionals give talks on topical subjects and technical subjects. It's peer reviewed, so it's very, very professional. There's a whole band of peer reviewers that look at papers before they get allowed to get published. So it's not just a rock up and present. It's a very professional organisation. So it's been going since 2011. It's grown from strength to strength, and it's got a very good reputation and a global attendance, which we're really proud of.
And that's it's definitely interesting to talk about these topics. So can anyone attend, or do you have to be a part of the lifting symposium?
Anyone can attend. Go online and book. If you've got, I would suggest if you've got an interest in lifts, it would be better. And your understanding would be easier. But the topics are a complete range. So you might have some very technical stuff on traffic analysis and that side of the industry. Then stuff on safety, stuff on design and engineering. I particularly, my love of Brunel. But this year I'm hoping to present a paper on the life of Howard Marriott, who set up Marriott and Scott all those years ago. Fascinating there.
Wow. Yeah. So you do get a range.
So there's a whole range of papers. There's something for everyone.
Target Lifts are proud to sponsor the Stuck in a Lift podcast in partnership with Blacks Productions. A lift company with a passion to delivering expert levels of customer service, Target Lifts are always aiming higher.
So what about the lift charity? You said you're part of the lift charity. What does that do?
So in 2007, we set up as a formal charity. But prior to that, and the aim of the charity is to give initial financial assistance to families following an accident involving someone in the lift industry. If I explain how the charity came about, I got a phone call before 2007, before we formalised the charity, because a lift engineer had been killed in a tragic accident. He was a young man. He had a wife and 2 very young children at home, not of school age. This was on the run up to Christmas. The employer's solicitors had said, take that engineer off the payroll immediately, because in those days it could be construed as an admission of guilt that you carried on paying them and you were nice. So the owner of the lift company was distraught about this, but obviously had to follow legal advice, and so a couple of us rallied round to make sure that his surviving spouse was able to have money and not worry about that. She had 2 kids to look after. And frankly, there wouldn't have been Christmas presents, but there wouldn't have been food on the table had we not done that. And so the charity's gone from strength to strength there. And we have fundraising events, as you know, every year. We have the clay shooting, sometimes we have bike rides, we have the annual dinner and dance. So we like to create a pot so that we can be reactive when there is an accident in the industry. And fortunately, they're few and far between, but when they happen, they can be quite nasty.
And you guys are there to support that.
It's the initial support. Just obviously, eventually, an insurer will probably step in. But insurance companies they've got the minds of gazelles and the legs of elephants. They don't move quickly. So they simply don't move quickly. So we're there to be able to be very reactive and very quickly sort a situation out.
So how long have you been in the lift industry, and what made you join?
Oh, right. So I left school in 1980. I wanted to join the railway. That was it. I would have joined the railway to do any job really. I would have been the best carriage cleaner out. But I wanted to be an engineer as well. I was a grammar school boy, not terribly good at grammar school. And I remember my careers teacher telling my father that he can't be an engineer because we taught him Latin. So I got an apprenticeship with the railway, craft apprenticeship, and I'm very pro apprenticeships. I think it's the way to go. I think the progression through the industry should be on the tools and that way through. So I joined the railway, did an apprenticeship. First year was off the job training. In those days there was something called the EITB, the Engineering Industries Training Board, and so did my J modules there. And my training officer said, well, a bit of a story before that. Obviously I joined the railway because I love trains, and I wanted to be fixing trains all day long. So I was in Croydon at the depot at Selhurst for the first year training, and then you opted for whether you wanted to go what was known as outdoor machinery, so lifts, escalators, boilers, lighting, electrical distribution, that sort of thing, or whether you wanted to go what was known as RSM, rolling stock maintenance. So I wanted to go rolling stock maintenance because I wanted the biggest train set in the country. And but I was travelling up from Eastbourne every day, so I was this very naive country boy from the coast. And my contemporaries in the class were all South London lads who were a little bit rough and tumble. And so the training officer said, I'm really sorry, Dave, there's no room for rolling stock maintenance for you because we need half of this lot in the depot where they're being managed, whereas we think you can go out in the field and be trusted to go around the different stations and do, and be let loose on your own. So the decision was made for me to be a lift and escalator engineer, and I'm too lazy to have gone anywhere else since. So I'm still here.
Wow. So what has been your most successful day so far? Obviously you may have a few, but have you got one that you can share with us?
My most successful day? I think, graduating with my MSc from the University of Northampton, so the MSc in lift engineering there, which was back in 2005. Now it's 20 years ago, so I was 40, so a mature student. But I met so many really nice, well-rounded people on that course. Most of us are still in touch now.
Oh, that's nice.
And it was such a good course. And what you learnt from that course was actually what you don't know, as opposed to what you do know. And the course leader at the time was a man called Phil Andrew, a lovely man, who when he opened up the introduction to the course, he said, I won't be able to get you all the information in your head. You won't be able to keep it that way. But by the time you finish this course, you will know where to go and look. And that's absolutely true. And so things like CIBSE Guide D, which again is coming out again this September, it's up for republication. You look at the team that work on that, fantastic contemporaries. I've been so lucky. And I sit on the British Standards Committee. I've sat on that since 1989 as well. And you walk into the room and it's like an imposter syndrome. You just see people from the industry who are giving their time freely and just making this industry work. It's fantastic.
Wow.
I'm not sure I answered your question there. But
No, but I lost the answer. So it couldn't have all been on the high. What challenges have you faced along the way?
I think, and I can't go into specifics, but I fell into the expert witness side of the industry in 1992 following the fatality. And it wasn't that case, but over the years I've investigated over 50 fatalities. I've been involved in the Grenfell inquiry, advising one of the parties in that. Many years ago I was involved in the King's Cross inquiry as well, from the fire on the escalator. I was on the tools in those days. I think when I look at some of the accidents that I've investigated, some you think actually that might have caught me up, and some are just downright stupid. And I think that's the thing that saddens me. And I think, and I know most contractors who are taking on apprentices are really paying back into the industry, and it's just important that we do that. Lear have got their apprenticeship scheme now, and the endpoint assessment, and it's really important that we all pay into that, including us as consultants. The problem with the consultant world, it's very parasitic. Most people come to us as trained people, or someone else has paid for their training, but we need to be paying back into that pot as consultants. And I'm pleased to say we do. We pay for a number of MSc courses ourselves. We have an apprentice now with us up in Manchester, a young lady, which is great. And we need to be paying into the pot. So the current CIBSE president's motto is paying it forward, and it's all about that. So paying into the pot.
Targetlifts are an independent business, and since 2009 we've been offering a peace of mind and complete confidence in the services that we provide. We're available 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, and can tailor contracts to suit your specific requirements. Here at Targetlifts, we pride ourselves on providing excellent communication and engineering detail to ensure full compliance, safety and reliability. Visit targetlifts.co.uk to see what we can do for you.
So let's move on to the main topic of our conversation today. So the word disability, the word disabled, in your eyes, what do those words mean?
So there's a purist answer to that, isn't there? And then there's a pragmatic answer to that. So I think the purist would say it's someone with a form of disability that means they are different. Yeah. The problem with that is there's no appreciation of different disabilities and combinations of disabilities. So it's interesting. I get really frustrated. Railway world.
Okay.
Let's go railway world.
Okay.
I think the station staff have got it really good now, getting people on and off trains. Sometimes I know it goes wrong, and I know Tanny had a bad incident, or a couple of incidents on that. However, it's the inconsistency. For a visually impaired person or audio impaired person. So I got on 2 trains this morning, and what I noticed was the door open and door close button were inverted on each train. So the door close button was the top button on one train, and the door close button was the bottom button on another train. So if you're scrambling around trying to feel for buttons, and I have no appreciation of that because I'm not mobility impaired, but that must be really frustrating, you know. And
why was that a thing?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know is the honest answer to that. I think we are still way behind the curve on disabilities and understanding disabilities. It's gradually getting better, and obviously change management, things will evolve. Going back to the symposium, there was a really good paper, a lady called Rachel, who I learnt so much from this paper. It was really, I was quite inspired by her talk. She spoke about the difference between inclusivity and accessibility. Huge, absolutely huge. So accessibility, okay, you can get in the building. So that could be not a token gesture, that's the wrong way of putting it, but someone's adapted their building, put a ramp in so it overcome stairs, widened the doorway or whatever. It could actually mean, actually what you could do is pop around the back door and go in that way because that's a better route. But inclusivity is where we all, without noticing, use the same entrances and whatever, and it just fills and flows. So inclusivity is what we need to be aiming for.
Yeah.
But of course, I accept we've got lots of old buildings, some can't be adapted, some can. But certainly and again, there's an argument there because current vogue is with embodied carbon, don't go demolishing old buildings unless you have to, you refurbish them. So there will be physical barriers and issues there. But in terms of inclusivity, there's no excuse for a new build.
No, there's not.
There's no excuse whatsoever. And that's the same as well with new build. You should be able to achieve pit depths and headrooms for safety, whereas putting a new lift in an existing building that has different challenges. But I think it's about the appreciation of people's individual needs. And as I say, some people have combinations of mobility issues, and we need to understand. And of course, as the saying goes, not all disabilities are visible.
No. I think we just all need to be more mindful and be better, basically.
Yeah.
I was at London Bridge the other day, and a lady came up the lift, and she was in a wheelchair, and they didn't have the staff at London Bridge to get the ramp off to assist her onto the train. So they told her that she had to wait for the next train because they didn't have the staff. And I was shocked, and I was like, how can you make that lady wait for the next train just because you don't have the staff? Like, that should be a key priority to make sure that everyone can get on that train when they want to get on that train.
Yeah, and to be fair to the railway industry, I think they would be distraught to hear that story as well.
Yeah, it wasn't nice to see.
No.
It was boiling hot weather. She just wanted to get home, and had to wait in another crowd where she's already waited in the first crowd. So, yeah. Next question. I'm going to read this one because it's a bit of a tongue twister.
Oh, okay.
So, disability might be unique, but making it impossible to cater for all scenarios like we've potentially just discussed. What are the main categories of disability covered in the regulations and codes for the lift industry?
So, in 8170 looks at accessibility to buildings, building regs, Part M looks at lifts as well. So, in terms of some of the barriers, certainly in older buildings, smaller lifts, where someone who's wheelchair bound physically can't get into a lift. So certainly some of the older residential buildings where lifts have been put into what were stairwells, and they're literally cramped into that space. That's not a great experience for someone who's wheelchair bound or needs space. Another issue, and funny enough, there's been some press on this recently, is single lifts in buildings.
That was one of Tanny's issues that you discussed with us.
So as you know, I wrote a paper on that, and I'm involved because there's been some bad press on the BBC this week on this. That is where lifts need to be carefully managed, and that's where we as an industry have a duty. We have EN 8180 in terms of improving the safety of existing lifts, but also lift owners have a duty as well to look forward. There are good owners of lifts, there's bad owners of lifts. You need to be forward planning. Your lift will not last forever. It will need a modernisation at some stage, and it's also about buying the appropriate lift. So some design and build contracts where the contractor's only interested for a year and they're gone, their liability's gone. The design might start off all very well intended with good quality stuff, but then might end up with a budget lift which won't have the longevity. So not only that, then do you get the lift out of service because it needs to be replaced more often, or its reliability might be poor. That has an impact on the accessibility of the building. Also has an impact on carbon as well. If you buy a lift that lasts 25 years and you might do a modernisation 12 to 15 years, if instead of doing that you bought package lifts that are of not poor quality but a quality not appropriate for that building, and there are horses for courses, you might end up replacing that lift 3 times. So you've got the accessibility issue at that point, but you've also got the carbon issue. You've built that lift 3 times, you've transported, you've got the materials out of the ground, you've got to get rid of the old equipment, and the business interruption, for the building is huge. And if you've got a building with a single lift in it, that becomes problematic. So in that respect, and I know we have issues with land space, but I would rather see bigger blocks of flats with more lifts where there's redundancy.
So what is the lift industry doing to be better?
What are we doing to be better? I think there is a greater understanding of accessibility. Some superb work being done at standards level. The problem with standards is you publish a standard and then that makes another standard out of date, so you catch up with that standard and then another standard becomes affected by the change management of everything down standards world is huge. And a lot of people give a lot of time to get standards world to work. I think where the real push is within components and component manufacturing.
Okay.
Yeah. So all of the push button manufacturers are making tactile buttons, the raise buttons, and those sorts of. Clearly, the standard says that, but of course, there's always a lag between what was and what is. And if you look at EN 8180, if you look at the old 2003 version, the first version that's been superseded by 2019 version. Leah did a very good document on EN 8180 with the 74 questions that look at stuff like accessibility and risk. I think if you look at that, I think the industry's been very, very good in that and has moved on. There's now 11 more things in the 2019 version, which looks at things like, believe it or not, lifts in seismic areas and a lack of earthquake protection. Now you may laugh and go, well, not too many earthquakes in Crayford, but if you look at a map of Europe, and this is a SEN standard, so it's not a parochial BS standard, there are seismic areas, and we've seen earthquakes recently in Turkey, Italy, haven't we?
Yeah.
So that's now included into the Part 80. Firefighting, firefighters lifts is looked at as well. Having been admitted from the previous Part 80, and that's really important. Obviously, post Grenfell as well. And looking at that scenario, I mean, the new Part 76 standard for evacuations coming in as well, and that very much, looks at mobility impaired people and giving them refuge and the ability to get out of a building.
Just on that, when you're now looking at that, are you looking at people with a whole range of disabilities, or is it kind of, obviously because there's multiple?
Yeah.
So are we equipped to handle a small amount, a big amount, everyone?
We should be.
Okay.
Is the answer to that. And everyone in a building who is mobility impaired should have their own personal plan as to how they're getting out. But again, the variables are, the disabilities and the variety of disabilities, they're huge.
Yeah.
From someone who's visually impaired, someone who may be obese, all of those things, and even people with pushchairs or Zimmer frames or whatever, they take up more car area. But nevertheless, we have to think around that and getting people out of the building. So it's all about the design of the building as well. This is where the architects and the fire and life safety consultants come into this. We've got to be able to get people to a place of refuge to be able to get them out. So that's just so important, isn't it?
Yeah. So important.
And at the end of the day, everyone is a human being. Mm-hmm. No human being is more important than any other human being. No. And we all have the right to be able to get out of the building
safely. Yeah.
But going back to variables, of course, different buildings have different strategies. A tall building, when a fire alarm goes off, the evacuation strategy might be evacuate 2 floors above, 2 floors below. Because if you try and evacuate in one go, that's just going to cause crazy chaos. So again, it's all down to individual buildings, and that's where we as professionals need to have an appreciation. Where that then becomes problematic is when you see a change of use in a building. So and that needs to be understood and managed. But it's all about the Building Safety Act as well for a new build, and the golden thread of seeing through the whole thinking process about how a building was designed and what it was intended to do. And if there's a change, that golden thread needs to be revisited.
So overall, we're making that positive change.
I think so. Yeah.
We can't do it overnight, but we are making steps to make it.
I think so. Could be faster, but I think
we're only human, and we're doing the best that we can.
We're on the way.
Yeah. No, that's nice. Nice to hear. I like this question. Have you seen anything unexpected along your journey? I'm sure Dave's seen loads, but that one story that you can share with us.
Have I seen anything unexpected? I suppose I see some silly things that maintenance engineers have done.
Go on.
And you go, wow. I did an expert witness case once, and obviously I'm not going to give too many details, where the safety gear come in on a lift, social housing block in the upper regions of the building, and the lift engineer, there was 2 steel trimmers across the shaft, and the lift engineer got on the steel trimmers to go across to have a look at the safety gear. I don't understand why you would do that. The safety gear is in, the safety gear switch was operated, you can detect that from the control panel, and then you make your decisions from there. Anyway, he elected to go across, 2 steel trimmers. There was this is a long time ago, no intershaft division screen. So he walks across one trimmer and he's got his back between the guides, and the other lift's going up and down behind him, and he couldn't get low enough to see the safety gear. So it comes in back onto the landing and knocks on a door of this residential dwelling in this block of flats. And a lady answers, and he says, "Have you got anything I can put across the 2 steel trimmers that I can stand on? Because I can't see what I want to see." She gives him a tea tray, which he puts across the 2 steel trimmers, then puts 1 foot on it, it folds up like a V, and he goes down the shaft. He survived. Yeah. And
Luckily.
you think, what on earth? What on earth was going through your head? Yeah. So that's one of the unexpected things. Yeah.
A few, I can imagine.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So we've introduced a new question for season 4.
Okay.
And I want you to ask a question to our next guest on the show.
Oh, okay. Who's the next guest?
I can't tell you that. It's a secret.
Okay.
But I want you to ask a question so they can answer it.
Okay. So my next question, unexpected this obviously, my next question to whoever follows me is, your career in the lift industry, would you have done anything different?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. You see what they say.
Yeah.
Okay. Nice. So we love to end each podcast in tradition, as you know, as you've listened to a few, and we would love to know who you'd want to be stuck safely in a lift with.
Right. So 2 people.
Coming in.
Sadly, both no longer with us.
Yeah.
Isambard Brunel. Yeah. But if I was allowed to be stuck with Isambard, I'd like to be stuck with his father, Mark Brunel, as well.
Two of them.
Yeah. So Mark Brunel was an incredible engineer as well. Isambard was a good engineer, but he was also a really good marketeer and knew how to sell himself. Yeah. Whereas his father was just a very good engineer. Then if I can't be stuck with them, then I would go with Fred Dibner.
Okay. For what reason?
Just neither of them had, or Fred Dibner certainly didn't have any formal qualifications, but was a good engineer. Understood metal, understood those kinds of things. And I think, I think Fred Dibner would be. There's loads of people I'd love to be stuck with.
But those 2?
Especially a couple of politicians.
Oh, that'd be a long chat. So just before we started recording, I've learned all of your Brunel facts. But I did come to the table with one fact, is that he accidentally swallowed a coin whilst performing a magic trick to his kids, but he dislodged it himself before the doctors. So that's my fact I'm bringing to the table. Have you got any facts for Brunel that you can share with us?
So the old adage that he designed the box tunnel at Bath to go, so he realigned the railway so that the sun shone through it on April the 9th, which of course was his birthday.
Yep.
There's all sorts of little facts like that about Brunel. Yeah, buried in Kensal Green, very unassuming grave with the rest of his family.
So if you're doing a pub quiz, you need Dave on your team. If that's the topic of the quiz questions. Dave, thank you so much for joining me for a chat today. It's been great talking to you.
Lovely.
Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Absolutely stigma, especially in the lift industry. I think mainly because it's a male-dominated industry and a lot of men don't like to. A lot of men don't like to talk. It's like macho, don't show emotion, all that kind of thing.
You must have spoken to different people about your own fears, and then other people would go, I actually do that, and it would be people you wouldn't expect.
When you talk about mental health, it doesn't always have to be the bad stuff. Like, let's just say you were struggling behind closed doors, and I come and I say, yesterday I went on a hike, or I went to the gym, I felt a bit rubbish before, and then I felt brilliant afterwards. Then you might think, I'm going to go get out on a walk, feel a bit rubbish. I'm going to go out and do the same thing, maybe I'll feel a little bit better. It doesn't always have to be the negative stuff that people have to talk about. Like, you can be a champion, just let people know all the things that you can do that will make you feel good afterwards.
Did you know, as part of Targetlift's social initiatives within our local community, we currently sponsor 4 football teams: Milton and Folkestone, Fleet Down United Girls, Lee Rockets FC and Together Men FC, a charity football team raising awareness for men's mental health. Keep an eye on all their progress on all of our social media accounts. Target Lifts, always aiming higher.